Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unearth with Shelly Hughes podcast. I'm Shelly Hughes. On this podcast, I dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of business and entrepreneurship. I like to talk about mistakes, lessons learned, and just what it takes to grow a business and grow a really successful and thriving one. Um, Today, we're going to talk about PR. A lot of people have questions about PR, what it is, why you need it. It seems a little bit frivolous sometimes, especially when people don't know exactly what goes into it. And there are some misconceptions on it too. And there's a bunch of different types of PR, right? And I want to dive into that today. So, PR, I really feel like, is a method of expanding your business, expanding your audience. It is a way to utilize other people's circles to grow your own, right? And those circles can be clients, those circles can be eyeballs, um, those circles could be their own evangelists, right? And so when you think about PR, it's just like branding, it's all about association. It's all about who do I want to be associated with? Because that's a much easier way to get into someone's mind and really attach yourself to someone else's mental real estate than trying to start from scratch. So I give this example. If I were to see someone walk down the street and they're wearing a Prada bag and they have Gucci shoes, and I really don't know what they sell because I don't wear those things. So I would not be into this, topic. But how do I perceive them, right? If they're wearing a Prada bag, they have Gucci sunglasses, and they have Coach shoes, right? I would perceive them as luxurious. I would perceive them as probably having a lot of money. I would perceive them as really caring about how they look and how they are presenting themselves. Um, Verse if someone else was walking down the street and I saw them in, LL Bean boots, maybe they had a North Face backpack on, um, and some I would think of them very differently. I would think of them as outdoorsy, maybe probably pretty sustainable. They really care about the environment, especially if they have on something like from Patagonia, because Patagonia has a very um, earth sustainability, pro earth approach to their marketing and corporate social responsibility. So if you look at two different people, they're wearing two different things like that, you automatically associate them in a certain way. It's judging someone. But that's how powerful branding is and PR. You are associating that person with who they want to be associated with, right? And it's the same thing with PR. So PR involves a bunch of different things. PR can involve, um, obviously media relations is a really obvious one. It's the first one people think about. How can I get in the New York Times? How can I get in Bon Appetit magazine? How can I get on the local news station for a segment, right? That's a very obvious one. And that if it's a TV publication or a digital publication or a written publication, that publication has a lot of and holds a lot of trust from their audience. And if their audience trusts the publication, they trust whatever they write about as well. So that's where that association comes in with media relations is, you know, we are written about by this really trusted publication, so that all of their audience, when they read that, they kind of start associating you with the New York Times. They start associating you with, oh, I saw them in Bon Appetit magazine. I really like Bon Appetit magazine, so subconsciously they're going to like you too. It's also expanding your audience to audiences that you want to be part of. So some of our clients are native to Philadelphia, and really they don't want to go out of this region because they might be a brick and mortar or whatever it is. So you also can think of PR and media relations as utilizing someone else's audience that you want to be your own. So we really respect, let's say it's Fox 29. It's a local Philadelphia news station. Um, we know a bit about their audience. We know who listens to them. They love the morning news, hosts. And so if in our strategy, that's the demographic that we want to approach, then we would actively pitch them different kinds of segments they can do that their audience would really want to watch and enjoy. Um, and it's really mutual. I think of PR as really mutual. They are letting us borrow their audience that for, let's say it's a 1 minute segment, right? They're letting us borrow their audience for a minute, and we are, they're saying, hey, this is a company that we saw that's really cool. Let's do a segment on X. But what it also does, and how I see our jobs as PR professionals, is we are trying to help the reporters, media relations specifically, again. We're trying to make their jobs easier. Media and writers are constantly trying to find the next cool story, the next interesting story that their audience is really going to like and listen to. And so, and they're constantly searching and searching. And so if we develop a story for them, it's oh, they already have, another article that they can use for their November issue. Um, so it's kind of a give and take. We're giving them story ideas that their audience is really going to want to read or listen to or watch. And at the same time, they are letting us borrow their audience in order to help expand our own. So we did this recently for a client of ours. The client is Beatty Harris Sports Medicine. They have one location out in Newtown Square, and they are really unique because they have majority female doctors in their practice, which for sports medicine is really unique, in the industry. So and so obviously because they have one location, they have a really narrow audience in terms of geographic, um, where they live. And so we don't go after the national news because really it's not worth our time. And so what we do is we go really narrow into hyper local news, and we get them to win local awards from local magazines. We know that every December, Mainline Today has a Top Doc issue. So what we did is we pitched them back probably a year ago, because you have to go with the flow with some of these editorial calendars. I think it was last November. The story got picked up, and we pitched their writers, hey, you know, did you know that practices with female run physicians, they have a study just came out that they have a higher rating for patient experience. They have a better patient experience overall, the female run practices. And we kind of went into the pitch of like, why is that? Is there something about, primarily female characteristics that really add to the patient experience? And we said, for example, Beta Hair Sports Medicine, it's owned by, Dr. Alan Harris, but it's also run by Dr. Trisha Beatty. They're partners in the practice, and, they have excellent patient feedback. And this could be one of those reasons, right? So that story got picked up. They interviewed Dr. Trisha Beatty about what this looks like being a female in this male, primarily male industry. Did a photo shoot, and we got our client on the cover of the December Top Doc Mainline Today issue, for December 2024, which is crazy. So that's kind of how, we pitched them a story that we knew their audience would appreciate. They picked up the story, said, perfect, my feature article for December is done a year early, instead of them constantly trying to find an article, find a story. And we got our client on the front page of Mainline Today, which is focused on their ideal audience. So media relations and PR in general, it's really that give and take for we, you know, how we support the media and how the media supports us and our clients. But media relations is not the end all be all for PR. Strategic partnerships is a big one. So we do a lot of product collaborations, partnerships, event partnerships for our clients. Events is obviously a big one in PR that we can get to. But strategic partnerships is another way for you to get into the audience, of another brand, that has the audience currently. So um, it's also a way to show some of that corporate social responsibility if it's from a charitable angle. For example, one of our clients is Cork and Candles. They have a few different locations in the Philadelphia area, but they just franchise. So if anyone is interested in owning your own business, owning a Cork and Candles is a really good avenue to go down. Just let me know and I'll get you in contact with the owners. They um, they do a lot to give back to the community. Um, so there was a few different strategic partnerships we did for them. One of the things that they really give back to, are around rescue dogs, and we kind of tag teamed this concept where we used a few different tactics where we hosted an adoption event at the Cork and Candles and invited media to come to it. So what it did is we hosted this adoption event for I think it was all for paws, I believe, a local animal fostering organization. Um, we helped get these animals adopted, which goes back directly to their core values um, and a specific charity that they always continually want to give back to. That's really, that they're really passionate about. We were able to get into All for Pause's mass audience and get eyes on our brand through their platforms because they posted about us and about how we were hosting and sponsoring this adoption event. And we pitched to the media saying, "Hey, this this month is National Rescue Dog Month. Cork and Candles is hosting this adoption event. Can you we would love for someone from your station to come and cover this, so that we can, so we can get the word out." You pitch it specifically to people who have talked about rescue dogs in the past because they're more likely to pick it up than someone who's never talked about rescue dogs or don't care about rescue dogs. So you're strategic about it. And so we were able to kind of hit those three tactics in that one PR concept, which is pretty cool. Another one that actually we do with Cork and Candles as well, for Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, we created 11 verbena candles, um, and sold them where part of the proceeds went back to Alex's lemonade stand. So this was a campaign that we created a whole new candle for Alex's lemonade stand, during Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. We sold them all month long. We set up tables, kind of like lemonade stands, and all the proceeds went back to Alex's. And so that's something where I can't remember if media came to that event or not, but it's something where we are giving back to a charity that the client really cares about, and we are able to associate ourselves with Alex's Lemonade Stand, which is a you know, very respected nonprofit in the country that happens to be founded in the Philadelphia region. Um, so of course events, event planning, that kind of stuff, figuring out what that's a really big part of PR. It's but how I like to have my team approach events is what are those pre-event engagements, during event engagement, and post-event engagements that are really going to make the event memorable. Those tactics that I can get into at a different time, that's really what makes an event worthwhile for the brand to put up all that money. Um, and so, in addition to that, it can be, podcast interviews. There's just so many ways to utilize PR based on your goals, and no two pot or PR strategies are the same. Truly, I've made many in my life and in my career, and not two of them are the same, because every single client has a different audience. They have a different way of communicating. They have different goals. So maybe, like, I have some clients that they couldn't give two craps if they were on daytime TV, right? But for them to get a podcast interview because they know that's where their audience is really actively listening, that would be a win for them. So really, when we develop a PR strategy, we look at who your audience is and what touch points do they make with media all day long, or really anything all day long. Do they go to conferences? Then maybe let's get you a booth. Let's sponsor a booth at this conference, right? Do they take the train to work? If they do, then maybe we, do a podcast. Do a podcast tour. Do they, do they work from home? Then maybe we don't do a podcast tour because podcast listening has gone down since commuting has gone down. So maybe we focus more on TV. Um, do they, shop at local boutiques? We would maybe do a collaboration event with a local boutique for X, Y, and Z, right? And then more importantly, there's two other ways that PR really helps clients that people a lot of times don't listen to or don't think about. Is one, it's how can we, if you have a brick and mortar, how can we make the in-store experience just out of this world, right? That in itself is PR. So one of our clients was 320 Market. They have a location in Media, Pennsylvania and Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. And we said, okay, a lot of these are young parents with kids. And we do a deep dive on what do people want when they when they go to a restaurant, especially in this demographic. We realize what they want is just to eat in peace. So one of the things that we talked about was, hey, let's have a whole kids section where we can have a mini 320 Market, playhouse display that we can build from, we can hire a contractor to build so it can mimic what the outside of 320 looks like, so they can kind of play kitchen while the parents can eat. So there's the in-house brick and mortar angle that you can really take. But the other angle that PR really helps with that people don't think about is the internal communications. So there's another client that they're having a challenge with turnover in their employees. And so we, without saying that we are HR professionals or anything like that, we are taking the PR angle internally and saying, okay, how can we make the relations with our employees better? So that can be event planning, and how can we make events really memorable? How can we do employee appreciation? How can we have a swag strategy where we're giving really fun, memorable, swag items out? So those are two other ways that you can think about PR based on your goals. That doesn't really have to be you getting on, the Today Show. 'Cause honestly, that's not for everyone. So who needs PR? I think the person who needs PR is ideally a brand that might have a spokesperson. It's really much easier to pitch a person with ideas than just a business, because no one cares about businesses. They care about the people behind them. So if you have a spokesperson behind your brand, that really helps, number one. And PR really also helps when maybe you've worked on social media a little bit, you've grown a little bit of a following, and you're just ready for that next step. Um, or you're thinking, hey, social media has been great, but it really hasn't gotten us to the audience that we want. PR may be a way um, to funnel that a little bit better, to start to get eyes from the people you want to you want to get attention from. So um, that's the gist of PR. I really appreciate you listening today. Like I said, this is the Unearth with Shelly Hughes podcast. If you have any questions, I'd love for you to comment below. If you want to leave a 5-star review, it would mean the world to me. Send this to someone that you think would appreciate it. And if you want to be on the podcast, we're going to start interview like more guest style podcasts pretty soon. Just send me a DM at Shelly Hughes _ and we can get something set up. So appreciate your time.